there, welcome to the Upcycle Design Lab. My name's Cindy and I craft using recycled and repurposed materials. If you're new here, I hope you'll stick around and check out some of my other upcycling tutorials. And if you like what you see, you can check the subscribe button below any of my videos to become a subscriber. Also, if you'd like to be notified when I upload new videos, be sure to check the bell icon as well. So today I'm going to be upcycling some old men's shirts into some new pillow shams. It's a super simple, super fast little craft to do, and you can make it pillow covers just to change the look of your couch, or if you want to make some for holidays. There's just a lot of different things that you can do with this craft, and like I said, it's super easy and super fast. We're going to start with the pillow, whatever pillow you're using, and you just need to take your tape measure and measure from side seam to side seam. Most pillows are kind of standard sizes. This one is an 18-inch square pillow. You could probably do a rectangle shape as well, but you just need to make sure that you plan it out correctly on your shirt. So I'm working with an 18-inch pillow. So I need to cut my pattern 1.25 inches bigger all the way around so that I can have a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to grab a piece of newspaper and I need to cut a square that is 19.25 by 19.25. So I like to use a nice big L square. And I'm just going to mark 19.25. And I like to use the Sharpie just so that I can see my line on the newspaper. So I'm just going to square everything off. You could use a regular ruler if you don't have a L square or some other kind of square. So now I just need to come over on this side, flip my ruler over. Squaring it off again here. Marking 19.25 inches. And I'll go ahead and draw my other line. I said you needed scissors for this project. I like to have two different pairs because I have a pair of scissors that I use for cutting paper and a pair of scissors that I use for my fabric, which is nicer. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out here. And now we've got our paper template made. Our next step is to take our men's shirt. I'm just using a short sleeve button-down shirt here. And you want to make sure that it's all buttoned up so that you can kind of smooth it out as flat as possible. The other thing you want to make sure is that your pattern fits between the shoulder seams. You can cheat a little bit if you need to, but you probably, for an 18-inch pillow, are going to want a larger shirt, not a smaller shirt. And the other thing about these men's shirts is sometimes you'll have a yoke that's very smooth. This one's a little bit gathered up, and then it also has this tuck in it that you can see here. So in order to get everything to lay flat, I want to go ahead and cut right along my yoke line here so that the back will be smoothed out. So I'm just going to cut through one layer here, little snip
And then I'm just gonna carefully cut right along the yoke line here, just through one layer of fabric. And that way when I flip it over, I should be able to get everything to lay flat. You don't have to cut anything except for right across the yoke. And then I'm going to try to get this laid out as flat as possible here. You can usually feel any lumps through the shirt, so you know if you've got it smooth or not. And now I'm going to switch to my pattern. So like I said, you want to make sure that the corners fit in between your shoulder seams here. And you want to center the piece on your shirt so that the button placket is going down the middle. The other thing you want to keep in mind is you don't want to be right on top of a button. So I'm going to slide this up as far as I can here. And that way I'll have room for my seam and the first button will be right here. You could also go below it if you want to, but I want to kind of center this pocket onto my piece here. So once I've got the pattern where I want it, I'm just going to go ahead and pin everything down. I should also mention that you want to be careful that you're not, you don't have your pattern above where you've cut the yoke in the back. So you want to make sure that you're cutting through, you're going to be able to cut through 2 layers at the top edge of your pattern. When you're centering your pattern, you do want to kind of check the bottom as well. So I'm right in between some buttons, so that's good at the bottom as well. And once the pattern's pinned in place, I can just go ahead and cut through both layers. So as I mentioned, this is a really simple project. It's great for beginners. I love it because you can get it put together in about a half an hour and you end up with this cute little pillow cover. It's extra thrifty if you can use a hand-me-down shirt from somebody's closet or just get a thrifted shirt. And it's very simple because you're just doing some straight cuts and straight stitching. So if you're just starting out, it's a pretty simple, unintimidating project to work on. And it's a little simpler than just sewing a basic pillow cover because you don't have to finish the edges or you don't have to stuff the pillow and then hand sew it. So it's just a very user-friendly, easy project that gives you a cute end result. All right, so we'll just set the rest of this shirt aside and take the pattern off. And then I'm going to set my pattern aside as well. And I'm just going to switch these to, right now they're wrong sides together, so I want to flip them over so they're right sides together. And I'll go ahead and pin my edges together. Once I get everything lined up here. If you have really soft fabric, it's a little harder to get everything smoothed out, but okay, got it lined up now. So I'll just quickly pin this together and then we'll be ready to head to the sewing machine. Another thing that I think is really fun about this project is that you have the front part of it. I guess it's the front of the shirt. So you've got the cute little buttons down the front and the pocket on one side, and then you've kind of got a blank canvas on the other side. So if you wanted to, you could embellish both sides, but it's a fun thing if you want to spend a little bit more time being creative. I'm going to show you in a little bit at the end of this video what I did with the backs of all of my pillow coverings, but there's just a load of things that you could do other than just the ideas that I'm sharing with you. So it's one of those projects where you can kind of use your imagination, let it run wild, and pick a lot of different things to embellish the pillow with if you choose to. I've got my machine threaded with some white thread, and I'm just going to be doing a basic straight stitch. And all I need to do is start anywhere on this square, and I'm just going to stitch one time all the way around with my 5/8 inch seam allowance. Just a note here, if you are a beginner sewer, or even if you're not, do not pin your shirt the way I did. Somehow I got my pins in kind of upside down. So it's probably best if you're just starting out sewing to put your pins fairly close together and put them perpendicular to the edge of your fabric instead of horizontally with your fabric, because that way you won't run into any problems where you have your pins upside down, and you can just get a little bit closer to the needle with your pins, which keeps everything, your edges of your fabric, tighter together. So a little trick for the corners, you don't want to go right up to the edge and then make a sharp 90-degree turn on things that you want to have kind of a sharper corner when you're sewing. You want to do about 2 stitches that are sort of at a diagonal. So I'm just turning this about 45 degrees. I'm going to do 2 stitches. And then I'm going to turn it the rest of the 45 degrees to make my 90-degree angle. And that'll help have a little more clean corner when I'm done. So once I get to the end, I just want to make sure I'm going back over my initial row of stitching, or you can back stitch however you want to tie off your threads. So, you know, I usually go 4 or 5 stitches over the top. And you can back stitch just for good measure as well if you want to. And that's it for the sewing. Before I turn this inside out, I want to go ahead and trim off the edges a little bit. You could serge off the edges if you have a serger. I'm going to use some pinking shears. If you don't have pinking shears, you could certainly just use some regular scissors, but you don't want quite the 5/8 inch seam left on the inside here. So I'm just going to trim about half of it off with my pinking shears. And if you need to, you can press the pillowcase after you turn it as well. I like to buy shirts that are sort of wrinkle resistant, which is a thing that happens in men's shirts a lot, so those are easier to work with. So I'm just going to trim off all 4 edges, and then I'll be ready to flip this inside out. All right, I'm ready to flip the cover inside out. So I'm just gonna gently push the corners out with my finger. They make tools that you can push corners out with if you want your corners to be really sharp, but I'm not too worried about it, so I'm just gonna use my fingers here. And then I'm just gonna stuff the pillow in and smush it around, fluff it up a little bit, and once I have it kind of filling out my whole pillow cover, I'll go ahead and button it back up. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this simple little sewing project. It comes together really quickly. You probably almost could have made one just along with me during this video. Just as a side note, I did mention earlier that I was going to embellish a few of my pillows, and so I decided to make them into kind of dual use pillows. The plainer set I just left with the cute little pocket side, but on my brighter plaid colors, I decided to paint some stencils for more of a holiday feel. And if you're interested in how to do that, you can check out my last video, which was all about cutting t-shirt stencils from freezer paper with my new Cricut machine. So be sure to check out that video if you haven't already seen it. And if you have some other ideas on how to embellish your pillows, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back here soon in the lab.